one remembers which may never have happened. There are things I remember which may never have happened, but as I recall them, so they take place.
What?
This man, crying in our room. One night late I returned and found him, sobbing, his hand over his face, sitting in the armchair, all crumpled in the armchair. And Katie sitting on the bed with a mug of coffee, and no one spoke to me. No one spoke, no one looked up. There was nothing I could do. I undressed and switched out the light and got into bed. The curtains were thin. The light from the street came in. Katie still on the bed. The man sobbed. The light came in. It flicked the wall. There was a slight breeze. The curtains occasionally shook. There was nothing but sobbing. Suddenly it stopped. The man walked over to me quickly, looked down at me. But I would have absolutely nothing to do with him. Nothing. No. I'm quite wrong. He didn't move quickly. That's quite wrong. He moved very slowly. The light was bad and stopped. He stood in the center of the room. He looked at us both, at our beds. He turned toward me. He approached my bed. He bent down over me. But I would have nothing to do with him. Absolutely nothing.
What kind of man was he?
A little while later, I heard him go out. Heard the front door close and footsteps in the street, and then silence. And then footsteps fade away, and then silence. And sometime later, in the night, I looked across the room to her bed and saw two shapes.
He'd come back.
He was lying across her lap, on her bed.
A man in the dark across my wife's lap.
Then in the early morning, he had gone.
Thank Christ for that.
It was as if he had never been.
Of course he'd been. He went twice and came once. Well, what an exciting story that was. What did he look like, this fellow?
Oh, I never saw his face clearly.
But was he...
You talk of me as if I were dead.
Oh, no. You weren't dead. You were so lively, so animated. You used to laugh.
Of course you did. I made you smile myself, didn't I? Walking down the street holding hands, you smiled fit to bust.
Yes, she could be so animated.
Animated's no word for it. When she smiled, how can I describe it?
Her eyes lit up.
I couldn't have put it better myself.
You weren't dead, ever, in any way.
I said you talk of me as if I am dead. Now.
How can you say that? How can you say that when I'm looking at you now? Seeing you so shyly poised over me? Looking down at me.
Stop that! Myself, I was a student then, juggling with my future, wondering, should I be Jesus, saddle myself with the slip of a girl, not long out of her swaddling clothes, whose only claim to virtue was silence, but who lacked any sense of fixedness, any sense of decisiveness, but was compliant only to the shifting winds with which she went, but not the winds, certainly not my winds, such as they are, but winds, I suppose, that only she understood. And that, of course, with no understanding whatsoever. At least as I understand the word. At least that's the way I figured it. A classic female figure, I said to myself. Or is it a classic female posture? One way or the other, long outworn. That's the position as I saw it then. I mean, that is my categorical pronouncement on the position as I saw it then 20 years ago.
When I heard Katie was married, my heart leapt with joy.
How did the news reach you?
From a friend. Yes, my heart leapt with joy, because I knew she never did anything loosely or carelessly, recklessly. Some people throw a stone into the river to see if the water is too cold for jumping. Others, a few others, always wait for the ripples before they will jump.
Some people do what? What did she say?
But I knew Katie would always wait, not just for the first emergence of ripples, but for the ripples to pervade and pervade the surface. For as you know, ripples indicate a shimmering of depth down through every particle of the water, down to the riverbed. And even when she felt that happen, when she was assured that was happening, she still might not jump. But in this case, she did jump. And I knew, therefore, she had fallen in love truly and was glad. And I deduced the same thing had happened to you.
You mean the ripples?
If you like.
Do men ripple too?
Some, I should say.
I see.
And later, when I found out what kind of man you were, I was doubly delighted, because I knew Katie had always been interested in the arts.
I was interested once in the arts, but I can't remember now which ones they were.
Tell me you've forgotten our days at the Tate, and how we used to explore London and all the old churches and all the old buildings, those that were destroyed from the bombing in the city, and south of the river and Lambeth and Greenwich. Oh my goodness. Oh yes. And the Sunday papers. I could never get her away from the review pages. She ravished them and then insisted we see that gallery or this theatre or that chamber concert. But of course there was so much to see and hear in lovely London then, that sometimes we missed things or had no more money, and so missed some things. For example, one Sunday she looked up from the paper and said, come quick, come with me quickly. And we seized our handbags and left on a bus to some totally obscure, totally unfamiliar district, and almost alone saw a wonderful film called Odd Man Out.